Welcome to the course Asia 353 Introduction to Hindi Film. This week's topic is sexual minorities in Bollywood, and this week's film is the 2015 Hansal Mehta's film Aligarh. The film is based on a true story of a homosexual university professor Ramchandra Siras from Aligarh Muslim University. The story highlights his struggle against the university administration and the society in general to recognize his right as a member of a sexual minority. The backdrop of the film also deals with the issue of a controversial section of the Indian Penal Code, the Section 377, that criminalizes homosexual behavior. So let's start. The reference to sexual minorities can be found in the traditional Indian text, religious and non-religious alike. Kama Sutra discusses the third gender and same-sex relationships. Several ancient Hindu temples have depictions of various types of sexual minorities. In Mahabharata, the character of Shikhandi belongs to the third gender. The reference of Hijra community is also present in Ramayana. The concept of third gender is defined in the traditional Hindu text as Tritya Prakriti, the third nature. In other words, the concept of sexual minorities is not new to the Indian society. It has been part of the Indian culture and society since ancient times. Before we take the film Aligarh, we must discuss the Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. The Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code is inherited from the Anglo-Saxon British colonial law that still prevails in former British colonies. It deals with sexual minorities and calls their sexual preference and behavior unnatural. The Section 377 in fact criminalizes homosexuality. After a long and exhausting battle in January 2018, the 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India unanimously ruled that the Section 377 was illegal and unconstitutional. And that way, the Supreme Court of India decriminalized homosexuality. Let's talk a little bit about the depiction of sexual minorities in Bollywood. Bollywood has been extremely shy in making the films on the stories of the lives of the sexual minorities. Only in the last 2 decades, some filmmakers have shown courage and made films directly tackling the issue head on. In 1996, Deepa Mehta, a fellow Canadian, made the film Fire on Lesbian Love. Although the film can hardly be called a Bollywood production, however, it was one of the first films that raised the issue of homosexuality for the Indian audience. With the beginning of new millennium, the filmmakers have started discussing the issue relatively openly through their films. Sometimes very superficially, as in Dostana, to some lesser extent in Kal Ho Na Ho, and sometimes in a serious way as in Kapoor and Sons and Bombay Talkies. The Bollywood had started discussing the issue openly. As recently as 2019 and 2020, the film Ek Ladki Ko Dekha To Aisa Laga and Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdhan are produced. The stories of these 2 films directly deal with the homosexuality, and they are made in a very typical Bollywood-style masala film with mainstream actors. Bollywood now seems to have shredded the discomfort in telling the stories of sexual minorities. Let's now talk about the film. Before we go ahead, I would like to give you the usual spoiler alert. Please watch the film before going ahead with the video. The film is based on a true story of a gay professor from Aligarh Muslim University. Ramchandra Siras is a professor of Marathi literature at the Department of Modern Indian Languages at Aligarh University. In one fateful night, 2 journalists of a local TV channel broke into his apartment and filmed him having a consensual sex with another man. He gets suspended by the university on the grounds of morality, rather immorality. The already humiliated professor is forced to vacate the apartment given to him by the university. He had lived in this apartment for more than 20 years since he started working at the university. A journalist from Delhi shows interest in his story and raises the issue in the media that generates sympathy for the professor. And later his case is taken up in the court. The court rules in professor's favor and he is reinstated. At the end of the film, the professor dies in mysterious circumstances a few days before returning to his work to his university. The film is a personal story of Professor Siras's ordeal, but it also raises a significant issue of acceptance of homosexuality in the Indian society. The battle for acceptance of homosexuality is being fought on two fronts, on the judicial front and on the societal front. On the judicial front, the fight is against the Constitution, specifically against the Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, which criminalizes homosexuality. On the societal front, the fight is against the traditional mindset that relates homosexuality to immorality. The film tries to balance these two fronts. However, in the film, the struggle with the legal system becomes the main story, and it overshadows the attempt to bring changes into the society's thinking and acceptance of homosexuality. It seems that the legal battle to strike down the Section 377 and to reinstate Professor Siras to his professorial position is the main story and the ultimate victory in the story of the film. The legal battle that plays out in the courtroom and activities of various human rights organizations become the focus of the film. On the other hand, any changes in the mindset of the people or lack of such changes is portrayed in the film in a scattered way. In one of the scenes where Professor recites his poetries and get applauded, it is an attempt to show acceptance of homosexuality in some parts of the society, but majority is still reluctant to accept it. The character of Deepu Sebastian, the local news reporter who covers the story with sympathy towards the professor, is also a symbol of changing mindset. But again, such views have a limited reach in the society. The Aligarh Muslim University, which was established during the colonial times with the mission to bring the progressive ideas to the Indian Muslim society, the same university betrays the very idea of its foundation. The entire administration of the university is eager to suspend and in fact expel the professor from the university. Although there is a contrarian view expressed in the character of Tahir Islam, an Oxford University professor working in Aligarh Muslim University. But such characters are very few and have very small role in the film. The Indian society is still by and large traditional, and the road to normalize the existence of sexual minorities in the Indian subcontinent is still full of obstacles. Ironically, the film itself also betrays the legacy of the university by dropping the word Muslim in its name. Through the entire film, the university is called Aligarh University, not Aligarh Muslim University. The city of Aligarh was also forced to skip the film as there had been pressure put by the political and religious organization on the cinema theaters to not screen the film, although there was never an official ban on the film. The perpetrator of the real crime, the journalist who violated professor's privacy and violently manhandled the professor and his partner, they remain unpunished in the film as well as in the real life. As I said, the road to normalize homosexuality in the Indian subcontinent is still very long. Manoj Vajpayee, who is famous for playing mobster and hooligan gunda type role, has done a brilliant job in playing Professor Siras. The aging professor, badly bitten by the circumstances, his loneliness, his love for melancholic songs that go with bag of whiskey. The entire character of Professor Siras was made alive on the screen by the talent of Manoj Vajpayee. In the party scene where he recites poetry and gets compliments, the shyness in his eyes, the facial expressions are matchless. They show his reluctance in accepting compliments. The same shyness and reluctance appear again when Deepu insists that he looks good in the photo. Simply a performance par excellence.
Nice.
I'm looking so bad.
No, you're looking very good.
No.
You're a very good looking man.
Oh God. Thank you.
And finally, the description of what it means to be gay is so convincingly represented in the film. In the words of Professor Siras, how can a three-letter word capture my feelings? It is like a poetry, an emotional poetry, an uncontrollable urge. I personally feel that there is no better way to express one's sexual orientation. Please watch the film, do the readings. Here at the end, I leave you with a trailer.
मेरे खिलाफ साजिश थी।
आप गे है इसीलिए?
कोई मेरी फीलिंग को 3 अक्षरों में कैसे समझ सकता है? ये एक कविता की तरह से भावात्मक एंड अनकंट्रोलेबल अर्ज।
ब्रेकिंग स्टोरी है। अलीगढ़ यूनिवर्सिटी में कुछ टीवी जर्नलिस्ट से एक प्रोफेसर का घर में जबरदस्ती घुस गया एंड दे फिल्म्ड हिम हैविंग सेक्स विद द रिक्शा पुलर। प्रोफेसर सिराज के बारे में 2 मिनट्स बात करना था, एक स्टोरी करना था।
I don't want to talk to the media. होमोसेक्सुअलिटी को प्रैक्टिस करना, वो भी यूनिवर्सिटी प्रोमाइसेस के अंदर, हराम माना जाता है।
क्या प्रोफेसर सिरस अपना बिजनेस बाहर खेल के मैदान में कंडक्ट कर रहे थे? What business do neighbors have looking into someone's bedroom?
You have to fight it out, Mr. Siras.
क्या करना होगा मुझे? कौन है?